Hey there, Larry Delgado here. Welcome to my kitchen. Today, for you beef lovers, short ribs. You've probably seen these at the meat market. They're sometimes called dinosaur ribs. It's the loaded side of the rib, so you'll see the 3 rib bones on the underside of this cut. And we want to cook this over a period of time so the connective tissues start to break down and we get some tenderness out of this meat. So if you chose to grill it, you literally want to have this on your grill at low temperature for 4 to 5, maybe even 6 hours. My favorite way of preparing short ribs is braised. We're going to sear this. We're going to add some vegetables. We've got carrots, celery, onions, some garlic. I love to add fennel to my mirepoix. We'll finish that off with a beef stock, some tomatoes, a little wine, and some fresh and dried herbs here. That's all going to go in a braising pan into a 350-degree oven for no less than 3 hours. We'll start off with our vegetables. We've got some diced carrots, onions, celery, and garlic here. I love to add fennel to my mirepoix. Fennel just adds an extra dimension, adds more flavor. You're going to get a little bit of a licorice flavor. All this is going to be part of our sauce later, which is why I have it diced so small. If you'd like to leave your vegetables bigger and would want them as part of your dish, then feel free. By all means, cut them bigger. All right, so fennel. This is fennel. And I left this, I wanted to show you how to cut fennel. All right, so we'll cut off the stalks here first. And these can be reserved for a stock if you'd like. We're not going to use them for this. I'll just put them aside. All right, so we have the bulb here. I'm going to slice this down the center. So we'll take out this core because it's tough and fibrous. So we'll remove the outer leaves, I guess you can call them. And then we're just going to julienne this. So what we'll do is split it right down the middle, run your knife through, and you have julienne fennel. And that's about enough. I don't need to cut the rest of those. We'll just put this right here and get started with our mirepoix. All right, start off with a large skillet. We'll get some olive oil heated in here. We'll pause for a 10-second station identification. You're at cheflarrydelgado.com. All right, once our olive oil is hot, we'll add our vegetables here as they start to soften up. Add some carrots, celery, onion, and fennel. And as soon as that fennel hits the pan, you're going to start to smell it. It's very aromatic. It's inviting. People in your house are going to want to come over and see what's happening in your kitchen. We'll let those soften up a little before we add the garlic. That'll be the last thing we do. And this is a fairly quick process or quick step. So you want to make sure you have everything ready to go. Now that our vegetables are a little soft, we'll go ahead and toss in our garlic. I like lots of garlic. Toss that around a little longer. About 5 minutes. That'll be good to go. All right, we're going to transfer our vegetables into a pan here. This is our braising pan. This is what our short ribs are going to go into. I'm going to lay that on the bottom of your pan as a bed for your short ribs. So now that our vegetables are done, we want to season our beef and get it seared. We'll add a liberal amount of salt and pepper to this. Pat it in. Then you're going to dredge this in flour. Okay. We'll knock off the extra flour there. We don't want too much, just enough to coat it like so. And into the frying pan it goes. We'll add this to our oil and sear that till we have a nice golden brown crust. You can use the same application for other cuts of meat. It doesn't necessarily have to be a short rib. Chuck roast, ossobuco, lamb shanks, veal shanks. We used olive oil for our vegetables, but the beef can be seared in canola oil or vegetable oil, so you can cook at a higher heat. We've got a nice sear on our ribs here. We're just going to lay them right on top of those vegetables. Nighty night, ribbies. So in our pan, we've got a little bit of rendered fat from our short ribs. Some of that flour is stuck to the bottom there, and the seasonings. This is all flavor. We don't want to lose any of this. We will discard some of the oil, but all those drippings and fat's going to be deliciousness for our sauce here. We'll add a little wine to deglaze. We're going to cook that till that wine reduces a little bit. We get the alcohol out of it and just keep the flavor of the wine. That being said, make sure you have a wine you like to drink. We're only using a little bit of this at a time. So once our wine is reduced, we're going to add some stewed tomatoes. Add a little beef stock. And this is where we add in the rest of our herbs. A couple of bay leaves. Sprigs of rosemary. Some fresh oregano. And a little bit of time is on my side. A little more time. There we go. Stir that around. Give that a stir just to meld out all those flavors together. And into our braising pot this goes. We don't want the short ribs completely submerged. About 3/4 of the way up is perfect. So we have all our components in one pot. You got your vegetables, your herbs, got a beefy stock, and your short ribs. We're going to cover this in foil in a 350-degree oven, again, no less than 3 hours. It's important also, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you do want to have a nice deep pan. Once they start to cook and start to absorb a lot of stock, they'll expand and get a lot taller. So if you don't have a deep enough pan, that's going to stick to your foil, and that's bad news. Our short ribs have cooked for 3 hours. They're ready to go. Ooh. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. All right. At this point, I'm going to remove your meat from the braising jus. Let that cool. And you want to discard as much of the fat that you can out of the sauce. Those short ribs are going to release a lot of grease into your sauce here, and you can see just how much is easy to pour right out. Again, we're going to make a sauce out of this here, and we definitely don't want all of this fat in our sauce. Whoopsie. So if you notice, the meat it doesn't extend all the way out to the bones any longer. What's happened is a lot of the fat, like I said, is rendered out, and you're left with this deliciousness right here. The bones fall right out. Once it's cool, you can take your knife and run it along these bones here. Be careful not to cut yourself. And remove just the meat. If you like to serve it on the bone, then you can do just that. All right. Set those aside. And once you have the finished product, you can portion it from here. Okay. We'll remove a little more fat out of this here, out of your vegetables and broth. take a few spoonfuls of this. And again, what we have in here is your carrots, celery, that wonderful fennel. It's flavored up with all those herbs and red wine. Got the tomatoes in there. We're just going to reduce this down, pour it over our short rib. The beauty of short ribs or a braised beef is that the longer it cooks, the better it gets. So if you want to prepare this early, you can. Keep it on a low flame with a little bit of beef stock, and that'll be perfect when you're ready to serve your guests. All right, so we're ready to plate. My favorite accompaniment for short ribs is some nice creamy risotto. Now you can pair this with mashed potatoes, polenta, maybe grits. I'll take a portion and set it right on top. Finish that off with our gravy. You can garnish that with a sprig of rosemary. Voila. So there you have it. A beautiful short rib. Sure to be a crowd pleaser at any family gathering. This looks delicious. Again, this is one of my favorite pairings. I got to tell you this, the concentrated flavors that are in that braised jus, it's going to seep down into the risotto. I'm just going to go right in there. And this is what you're looking for, just a fork, tender piece of meat. You shouldn't need a knife at all. I hope you enjoy this recipe. It's definitely one of my all-time favorites. I'm Larry Delgado, reminding you to cook often and eat well.